One listening to this or watching this will feel that same pressure to achieve as an individual person. But we mustn't lose sight of the fact that fundamentally human beings are social creatures and our relationships matter. So I take a relational perspective to everything. Of meaning, purpose, fulfillment in your life. And that's not going to come from the material things, right? So for me, there's a really critical element here, which is about not putting ourselves into a box, not slamming a label onto ourselves and saying, well, I'm just no good at that. But about recognizing, channel. If you can channel that passion and carve out creative possibilities for your future based on those skill sets that you have that are really meaningful to you, I think there's no stopping you. I really do. I really do think there's no stopping you. The one thing I would say, again...
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Education Keeping It Real, brought to you by Youth United Council of India, presented by me, Lottie Hill, your Director of International Partnerships. And I am here today in the beautiful city of Brighton, and I am being hosted by the University of Sussex. I would like to introduce you to our guest for today, who I'm very excited to talk to about a very rich topic. And I'm hoping through this we will bring you some golden nuggets of advice about navigating this very challenging but also exciting transitional stage of life as you go through your studies and into your careers. So I would like to introduce Professor Robin Banerjee, who is the University of Sussex's Provost Chancellor, Global and Civic Engagement. And Robin will be telling us something about how the University of Sussex is a wonderful destination for all students and some of the key information about what it has to offer international students. So we will get to that at the end. But before we do, we have a great topic to delve into. And this is Robin's personal research area, which is developmental psychology. You are a professor of developmental psychology. So effectively you are an expert on the young developing mind. And this is what I would love to bring information on to our listeners today.
Fantastic. It's lovely to be with you, Lottie. I'm
Thank
really
you.
pleased to be having this conversation. And
Thank
yes,
you.
developmental psychology is what I've been doing for my whole career. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to talk with you about it and also to explore that in an international context. It's so important.
Fantastic. I'd like to start by asking you about something that I'm sure is very close to your heart. You are the founder of the Sussex Centre for Research on Kindness, which is run through the university, I understand.
That's right.
So I wanted to ask, first of all, whether you think there is enough kindness in today's world?
It's a really tough question, isn't it? Because you switch on the news every day and you see all the devastation and horrors that there are in the world. And that, of course, occupies all of our attention at the moment, and rightly so, because there are some huge challenges that we're seeing unfolding around the world every minute of every day. But I would say there is a huge amount of kindness as well. And we just need to make sure that we take a moment to notice it, to recognize it, and to celebrate it. Shall I give you a little bit of a context of how I even came to be thinking about kindness as a field of academic study?
Please do, yes.
I mean, it's an interesting journey because my background, as you said, is in developmental psychology. So my whole career I've focused on social and emotional aspects of development, looking at the importance of relationships, social interactions, and their connections with mental health and well-being for children, for young people, and indeed for all people. It goes on through the life course, of course. And I had started working on the topic of pro-social behaviors, making connections with others in a positive way, kindness as an illustration of that, in the context of children's behavior in school, particularly with younger children. And as I began speaking with other people about it, and of course working in schools, it quickly became very, very clear to me that A, this isn't just about children. This is as much about the adults in the school environment as it is about the children. It's about how we are together, how human beings are together. So it's not just about the children, it's about the adults in school as well. And then B, it's not just about schools, it's about everything. Now, Sussex University is a very interdisciplinary space. People interact with each other across all different disciplines. And when the university was founded in the 1960s, it was the first of these new universities in the 1960s in the UK. And it was set up with this ethos of interdisciplinarity, crossing disciplinary borders. The challenges that we have in the world today are not things that any one subject specialism can solve on their own. We have to work together. We have to shine a light on a problem from different angles. And that, I realized, was very true in my own area of research, because this isn't just about kindness in a school context. It's not just about a teacher standing up and telling children to be kind. It's about how we are as human beings with each other. And that translates into a hospital. It translates into social work. It translates into international aid and development. It translates into a business environment as well. It's about how we are wherever we are, in whatever context we find ourselves. It's relevant to every workplace. And it was through these interdisciplinary connections as I began to talk with people in the business school, in the medical school, in anthropology, in international development, I began to make these connections. And that's how the Sussex Centre for Research and Kindness was born, through this real concentration on human connection. Wherever you find it, in whatever context, human connection is fundamental to us all being able to thrive and flourish. Back to your question, is there enough of it in the world? I think there could always be more, but there is a lot of it. And one of the really interesting things is, can we actually shine a light on the kindness that exists already? Even in the most horrific circumstances, can we find the moments of kindness and grow those?
Yeah, that's a really great way of looking at it. So I want to pick up on something you said there about human connection underpinning everything. And I think one of the challenges in modern society is that we are growing, I would say, into more of an insular, individualistic way of life because of, technological development, social media, virtual services. We can do most things from the comfort of our own homes. We're working very often from home. We're not actually connecting in the same way that people used to. So what I wanted to ask is, in this way of living, is there still a benefit to developing more kindness, and how can we cultivate more of it when we are living more in this way?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there is a really big benefit to focusing on human connection, and we can cultivate it, but we just need to be purposeful about it. Because you're right, we are in a situation whereby technological change has been very fast, and there's such a focus on every individual being able to kind of stand on their own 2 feet and be self-reliant and show that they've actually done everything, achieved to the very best standard. I know everyone listening to this or watching this will feel that same pressure to achieve as an individual person. But we mustn't lose sight of the fact that fundamentally human beings are social creatures and our relationships matter. So I take a relational perspective to everything. And we need to take that relational perspective to everything, because actually, if we're all isolating ourselves from each other, we're going to take away from our collective strength. We've got to work together to find solutions to the big global challenges that we're all facing, that the whole of humanity is facing at the moment. That requires us to take relationships into account. And that means that we need to invest in those relationships. Now, the good news about it is that our relationships make a difference to how we feel. Our sense of well-being doesn't come, it really doesn't. It doesn't come from having the latest things or looking the right way or having the status or the power. That's not where, we know this from hundreds of years of psychology research, that's not where our sense of well-being comes from. A sense of well-being comes from having really healthy relationships with other people. Of course, we need to have our basic physical needs met as well, but our psychological needs are important, right? How we feel is connected to how we are with each other. And so investing in those relationships is a really important thing. And I think one of the big things that I've focused on throughout my career is trying to battle against the myth that somehow, if you're focusing on positive relationships and well-being and mental health, you're somehow taking attention away from the achievement agenda, right? Getting the right skills and competence and so on. I would say absolutely, this is not an opposition.
No.
These things go together. Actually, in order to be able to, I think everyone listening to this will be familiar with it. In order to be able to get the most from yourself, you need to be in a better place psychologically. Yeah. To be able to access the curriculum at school, or to be able to do your best work in a workplace, yeah, you need to feel like you're connected with the other people around you, and you need to feel like you're in a place which is healthy for you. So investing in relationships is really fundamental for that. And the other thing I'd say is also about, I don't know, what would you call it, Lottie? Maybe just getting like a sense of meaning,
yes,
purpose, fulfillment in your life. And that's not going to come from the material things, right? Yeah. The sense of purpose in your life and that sense of meaning and fulfillment, again, it's going to come from feeling like you're becoming the kind of person you are, not having the right stuff, but being the right way. Yeah. And I would say, this is what I've tried to do in schools throughout my career, I would say that we can cultivate that in our education system. And it doesn't require taking our attention away from all of the core academic skills. Of course, we need to be developing those academic skills. Of course, we need to be building the skills that are needed for careers. But actually, you know what? The healthy relationships, the positive sense of fulfillment that we get from relationships, those are the skills that we need in the workplaces of the future. That's how we're going to thrive.
Yeah, that's so important, isn't it? Because I think when we look on social media and we look at the world around us, we think, oh, we have to be like that, but actually we need to look much more inside at how we are.
Absolutely.
And that's going to give us the maximum benefit in everything that we do.
Absolutely. And it is hard in today's world because we're surrounded by images of what we need to be, and you're thinking, I should be like this, or I should have that, or I should be achieving at this level. And actually we need to be, we talk about kindness, we need to be kind to ourselves as well.
Yes.
Give ourselves a bit of a break.
Yeah.
And say, you know what we can do is invest in things that are just intrinsically important to us, not that require other people to validate it, things that we know they feel good ourselves.
Yeah.
And we need to create the conditions which actually enable people to thrive.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant advice. So on a related note as well, I wanted to talk about the pressure that young people face as they're growing up and moving through all of the different phases from school to college to university through to getting on the jobs ladder. There's a lot of pressure all the way through, and that's disregarding any other additional pressures that might be outside of that. So what advice would you give to young people for protecting their emotional well-being during particularly pressured or stressful times in life?
It's a really tough question because there are so many pressures and we can't just magic them away, because we know that there are expectations that are on every one of us. And I know that young people in the school system today will be feeling the pressure from families, they'll be feeling the pressure from society. And indeed, as you said, social media. I mean, there is a kind of a hidden pressure, or maybe even not so hidden. There's quite a feeling of pressure of having to live up to all of these different ideals. And I suppose the one message I'd say is, actually, you've got to focus on what's intrinsically important to you as well, and be able to pursue those things that you have a passion for, and to give yourself that space to do that, because actually that's where you're going to find the opportunity to really excel. And it's about really digging deep and trying to figure out actually what is it that really is meaningful for me, that actually gives me that sense of purpose, and then really investing the effort in that. Because actually, if you can actually channel, if you can channel that passion and carve out creative possibilities for your future based on those skill sets that you have that are really meaningful to you, I think there's no stopping you. I really do. I really do think there's no stopping you. The one thing I would say, again, around this is that there is a task here around just a kind of a self-management, self-regulation, okay? And a lot of it is about changing the approach from being, I'm just doing things in order to tick someone else's boxes, to actually saying, what is it that I want to achieve? And having that purpose around what are you doing and being able to articulate that and being able to demonstrate what value that has and showing that actually I'm creating that possibility for myself. I'm regulating myself around it. And that's really important. And that might mean sometimes, as I said, being more self-compassionate, showing kindness to yourself and giving yourself a break and recognizing that actually I might need to step back from this right now in order to give myself a better chance of being able to succeed with it later on, right? But right now, looking after myself, this is what I need to be doing. And having that ability to just give yourself the power to make some choices, I think is really fundamental. So for me, it does come down to, again, that fundamental point about what is intrinsically valuable to me. That doesn't require anyone else to recognize it. It's just meaningful for me. And being able to be in touch with yourself about that and then being able to articulate it to other people and saying, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, and this is why it has value. And being able to demonstrate that, I think, is really important.
So actually going inside and really finding out what brings you joy personally.
Absolutely.
Because I totally agree, that is what is going to propel you forward and give you the motivation to, you know, be successful in
Absolutely.
life.
And you know what? Sometimes that unlocks something when you're looking at something that you are, in a sense, being required to do. Because in school, I mean, we've all been there, right? In school, we're often required to do things and you think, well, I'm not that interested in it, right? But the really interesting thing about this is that actually, if you can be more in touch with yourself about it and you actually ask yourself the question about what is interesting, what is meaningful to you, what does give you purpose, it gives you a way into a lot of other subjects as well. So you might be doing a subject where you think, well, this is not going to be my main area of focus, but you might be able to say, but I can see that by doing this or by focusing on developing skills in this area, it could help me to pursue this thing that I'm really passionate about. So try and find those points of connection, because then it just helps to make everything make sense, right? And you've got to do some work to pull things together so that they make sense for you.
I know that's not always easy for people who are, you know, going through the system and seeing what others are achieving. But yes, take the advice here. Have a think for yourself what it is that you really are passionate about then in life, and watch what happens.
Absolutely. And watch what happens, because often what I've found when I've worked with young people in different areas, and frankly, I found it in my own life as well, sometimes you get surprised. You find these connections that you'd never even thought of before. And it just does take you getting out of the simple, I'm just doing what I'm being told to do. I'm just doing what my parents are telling me. I'm just doing what the teacher tells me to do. Actually give yourself the space to look at it and think, actually, what knowledge am I acquiring? What skills am I developing? What experiences am I getting from this? And then think, what can I do with that I really care about? And then always remember this as well. It's in a social context. It's in a relational context. And that's when you recognize, actually, everybody's different. Everybody's got different strengths. Let's build it all together. Because then the task is not just, what could I do with this? But what could we do with this?
That's right. And I think going forward, looking at the future of maybe the career world and the professional world going forward, things are going to be less and less in those discrete boxes, aren't they? Of this is going to be your profession, therefore you learn this set of information and data and skills. And we've talked about interdisciplinary
Yes.
Learning, and that's what's going to be needed, I think, in this kind of future of AI. And it's how to bring that all together. And
absolutely,
AI will take care of all the technical things, but we need people who are learning these skills and social skills, and be able to kind of weave everything together and
I completely agree. As the technology changes so fast, you realize even more that it's not just about the technical changes. It's about how we live with those technological advances, how we work with those technological advances. I mean, frankly, many of young people who are watching this at the moment, I mean, you may well be in jobs that do not exist at the moment in the future, right? In the future, you may be doing things that no one is doing at the moment because that job doesn't exist. And that's really exciting because you're going to be the architects of change.
Yes.
You're going to be the people who are actually making these new jobs, right? And all of it involves thinking outside the box. And again, coming back to the history of the University of Sussex, which is where I'm based, that's always been a fundamental approach that we've taken. I have to say, there's a very personal side to this story because I came to University of Sussex as an undergraduate student from abroad. I didn't grow up in the UK. So I came in from an international experience, came to University of Sussex because I knew Sussex was always very internationally minded. I mean, even today, we've got students and staff from more than 170 countries on our campus. I mean, it's an incredible international mix. But I was also always really attracted by this interdisciplinary spirit. And when Sussex was founded, it had that idea of this new map of learning, new way of learning where people would work across different disciplines. And we're doing, I mean, you used the example of AI. We're doing that right now still. We're taking something like AI. That's one of our centers of excellence. We've got brilliant scientists who are doing the work around the technological development of AI. But at the same time, we've also got people who are working in the business school around the business applications of AI. We've got people working in psychology who are focusing on the psychological aspects of how we engage with AI. We've got people working on science policy and government policy around the ethics and regulation of AI, right? And all of those things need to come together in a whole. We can't have people firing off in lots and lots of different directions. We need to try and bring it together because ultimately that's what society has to do. When you've got such fast changing landscape, we've got to bring it all together. And to my mind, we can't have a kind of disciplinary arrogance about it and say that, like, psychologists have all the answers, or computer scientists have all the answers, or the economists have all the answers. Of course they don't. No. We've got to work together. And the challenges, whether it's AI or sustainability or trade policy, whatever topic you choose, you're going to have scholars working together. And that's what we try and do. So at Sussex, we've got 12 centres of excellence on all of those topics and more. But every one of them is interdisciplinary. And our students and our staff are working across different disciplines. Students would be able to be studying their major subject, but would also be able to take electives from across the whole university.
Oh, really?
And it's that experience of getting the rich diversity of what there is in a university that I feel is really important. And then the key thing is applying it. I mean, like you mentioned AI, Lottie. I mean, acquiring knowledge is not going to be the thing anymore.
No, because we won't need the knowledge.
Honestly, you'll be able to type it on a computer. I mean, we've already had for many years now being able to search on the internet for stuff, which was unprecedented, right? There was a time I didn't have that when I was studying at university, but now we can go and search for anything. And now it's even easier, right? We can go on AI. But now we have to figure out, okay, information coming out of my ears, how do we select it? How do we verify it? How do we critically evaluate it? And what do we do with it? How do we put it together to find solutions? Because the solutions aren't going to come ready-made for us. We'll have loads of information, but it's about what we do with it. And so I think that's the kind of skill set that everybody watching this, I think you're all going to have to develop that skill set. And it's really exciting because it's all new. And for me, being at a university, working in a university, it's an incredible privilege to be part of that journey that young people are going on at the moment. So going back to your point about the development for young people, I think there's never been a more exciting time.
Yeah, it is. It's everything is changing. I feel like we are kind of entering into this new world, and you know, those people who are studying at the moment or preparing to study are really going to be the change makers going forward. So
100%.
yeah, absolutely.
So
at the Youth United Council of India, our mission is to empower young people so that they have the confidence and skills to become the best versions of themselves. So we do that through a number of ways, through our events and other opportunities for leadership training and development. But what I wanted to ask for you is whether you have any tips for maintaining a growth mindset. And maybe you could say what a growth mindset is, actually, in case anybody hasn't heard of the term before, and how people can kind of, again, cultivate this way of thinking so that they can acquire and build on all this new information and become that best version.
Become the best version of themselves. I suppose the key thing to bring out here is that idea of growth. And I would say the way that you can really conceptualize this is that we're taking a view of our ability, our intelligence, right, as not being some kind of a fixed attribute that you put yourself into a box and you say, well, this is my ability level, I'm stuck with it and I can't do anything about it. And so if I find something difficult, well, it's just beyond my ability level, I can't do it. And you've kind of limited yourself, right? The growth mindset is the opposite of that. Because what you're saying is that actually, this is something that I can't do at the moment. It's difficult right now, or I can't do it yet. But there's the avenue for growth. You're not limiting yourself. You're saying that ability is something that you can grow. Intelligence is something that you can grow. You can develop. You can achieve things in the future that you can't manage right now. And that's a really important outlook on life, actually, isn't it? Absolutely. Because basically it's about taking an approach to yourself, which is self-limiting versus unlocking potential. And I think we all recognize that it's going to be a lot healthier to be thinking about unlocking potential, right? So for me, there's a really critical element here, which is about not putting ourselves into a box, not slamming a label onto ourselves and saying, well, I'm just no good at that. But about recognizing, actually, with effort, thinking outside the box, actually thinking about connections with other people and learning from each other, we can do things in the future that are escaping me at the moment. Right? Or escaping us at the moment. We can do things in the future that might be difficult right now. And I think that's really, really important. And, you know, what you said about the Youth United Council of India, I think is really interesting because in some ways what you're doing is creating the conditions to unlock potential. And that's the idea, is through the events, through the activities, through, I hope, through conversations like this, we're creating the opportunity for everybody to be thinking, actually, that's a really interesting idea. I'd like to explore that. And it might be something that I haven't thought about before, but I'm not going to limit myself. I'm not going to say, well, this is all I've got and that's it. And I'm just going to say, too bad, I can't manage this. Actually say, well, maybe right now I'm finding it difficult, but that's something I'd like to explore in the future. Okay? Because not everything has to happen right away. And I think that's part of the problem. I think sometimes we're kind of living in a world where there's an assumption that if it's not happened right away, then it's never going to happen, or it's not worthwhile. And actually, sometimes I think, again, it's that zooming out, isn't it? We need to zoom out a little bit and look at the long view and think about our life course development and recognize that there are opportunities in the future, and we just need to open our minds to those, keep the doors open. Right? And give yourself that space, that flexibility to be able to look to the future with that hope, with that ability to recognize that you can grow beyond where you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to say, sometimes as you go through school, people are often defined by the grades they achieve. And that gives them a vision of themselves, and this is the level I am, and this is therefore what I can do as a result of that. But I think it's important, in light of what you've said, to say that nothing is off limits.
Absolutely.
And grades alone are not going to determine your future. There is so much more potential to unlock in so many different ways. So
and the irony of it all is that I think actually the more we do get in touch with ourselves in terms of what really matters to us, I think the greater the benefits you're going to have on the grades as well.
Yeah.
Because I think that intrinsic motivation, actually decades of research has showed this, that intrinsic motivation is correlated with achievement on all those standardized tests as well. So it's one of those interesting things that actually sometimes we get so caught up in defining ourselves in terms of grades that have been achieved in the past that we lose sight of that possibility of growth. And if we wake ourselves up to that idea that actually there's so much future possibilities, then the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I love that phrase, the sky's the limit. So yes, remember that.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant.
Okay, so this is really fascinating, and obviously it comes under the banner of psychology. So if anybody is very particularly interested in, taking these conversations further and doing further, study into that, psychology is one of the subjects that you obviously offer at, and you were a former head of the department. Yes,
that's right.
But just to conclude our conversation, can you tell us a little bit more, anything else that you want to share about the University of Sussex and why it is a great institution, and why Indian students in particular should consider this as a study destination?
Absolutely. I mean, you saw that it was a personal choice for me, and I'm still here more than 30 years later. So it's worked. It is a really, really lovely environment. And, you mentioned psychology and my time as head of psychology. One of the things I was really proud about when I was head of psychology was that psychology really exemplified that interdisciplinary spirit. Researchers in psychology, it's a very, very big department of psychology. Researchers in psychology were collaborating with literally every other academic school on campus. That interdisciplinary spirit, whether it was collaborating with sociologists or people in education or people in the business school, people in the medical school, people in international aid, there were collaborations going on across all of these disciplinary boundaries. So it's just an illustration of that spirit of fostering human connection in order to solve some of the world's biggest challenges. And that to me really is just a perfect example of what we've always tried to do at University of Sussex. I mean, Sussex does have this incredible profile of engagement internationally as well. I told you before about the incredible diversity of our staff and student population. It is absolutely amazing. And it was one of the things that attracted me to come to Sussex all those years ago. And it still is so wonderful to have people coming together from different countries and from different disciplines. What are they doing? They're sharing perspectives. Right? And they're recognizing that we're coming at things from different angles. The way that you think about something is not necessarily going to be the way that I think about something. And it's not just that's okay. It's actually really good that we have that diversity, because it's through that exploration of difference and perspective that we can sometimes find, actually, we've got some shared goals. We're shining a light at it from different angles, but we've got some shared goals and we can do something really powerful together. And that's what we've always tried to stand for at Sussex. You probably remember, Lottie, we talked about it last time we met. Sussex has been ranked in the QS World University Rankings #1 in the world for the last 9 years in a row for development studies. And that's just a perfect illustration of that commitment to internationalism and to interdisciplinarity. Because when you're thinking about development, well, it's the development of economics, trade policy, agriculture, industry, health, education, everything is developing, right? That's what we're always doing. And it's about bringing people together, bringing different disciplines together, and bringing people from different countries together to make positive changes in the world. And that's what it's all about. So yeah, I mean, if you're interested in that kind of an ethos, and if that speaks to you, like it did to me when I was young, looking for university opportunities, please get in touch with us. We'd love to be able to show Sussex to you, and hopefully welcome you to Sussex in due course as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That's been a really, really fascinating conversation and a great insight into, you know, how you operate and how students learn across many different disciplines at the University of Sussex. So thank you, Professor Robin Banerjee.
Thank you so much, Lottie. Lovely speaking to you.
Okay, thank you.